Hey everyone, welcome to another video. My name is Matt with TCG. Today's video is all about how to condition and list your cards on TCGPlayer, eBay, etc. No, this isn't a video about conditioning for grading. I honestly do not grade very much, and I don't post videos and claim or pretend to be an expert in areas that I'm not. So I want to be clear up front that when I'm talking about conditioning your cards, I'm talking about in the context of selling your cards on a platform like TCGPlayer. So if you want to learn more about that process so that you can feel more confident as you go to list your cards and ship them and maybe have to have some conversations with your buyers in the future, this is the place to be. As I said, my name is Matt, and I would really appreciate it if you guys consider liking the video and commenting down below. Those two things will help promote this content in this video in the algorithm, and it will help us get closer and closer to our goal of 1,000 subscribers. If you enjoy this type of content, if you find value in it, please consider subscribing, guys. The growth and the love on this channel has been absolutely crazy, so thank you so much. Let's go ahead and dive right into the content. I want to add as much value as possible, and so I'm going to start with the most important thing, in my opinion. We're going to talk about conditioning and just the different approaches to it. But the most important thing that you could walk away from with this video is I think that you need to know what resources you have available as a seller and as a buyer whenever you are thinking about the condition of a card. Because believe it or not, a platform like TCGPlayer actually has extensive, I'm talking multiple references, multiple resources and articles about what exactly are the different conditions of cards that you can buy and sell on their platform. So I'm going to have a link down below to TCGPlayer's conditioning guide. And for many of you, that may be totally brand new. You may not even realize they have something like that out there. But this is such an important tool and resource for you. As a seller, number one, it will give you complete guidelines of exactly what a near mint card is, exactly what a light played, a moderately played, a damaged card is. That way you can follow those guidelines to the T whenever you're listing your cards. On the flip side, if you're a buyer, you can reference this condition guide. If you're in a dispute with a seller, if you bought a near mint card and you believe you received a lightly played or moderately played card in its place, and you're trying to contest that, but the buyer is really pushing back and not willing to offer any sort of partial refund or allow you to return the card, I would just honestly bookmark this tab so that you can go back and reference it. And if you ever need to escalate something, because honestly, this happens. I've sold close to 3,000 orders on TCGPlayer, and I've had condition disputes maybe 2 to 3 times. So that's an average of almost 1 condition dispute per 1,000 orders. So this is not a very common occurrence, but it does happen. And I think it's because people get confused about conditions, okay? I think people see conditions as more of a subjective thing, but whenever you're in a marketplace, it needs to be very objective, okay? And TCGPlayer's resources help that conversation become more objective, remove the subjective, the emotions from it, and really give you fine guidelines to know exactly what a near mint card is. So if you don't take anything else out of this video, go down into the description and bookmark that tab. It's so important. Not to mention, just a quick kind of side note, is this condition guide is very extensive. It's very detailed. It's great. But just know that there are other articles within kind of TCGPlayer's Help Center that will also support you. I'm thinking of little indentions on the card, whether or not those are you can get a pack fresh card with some surface level surface level kind of mistakes on it, light damage. And these kind of articles will help you understand okay, I have a little pinprick indentation on my card fresh from the pack. Is it still near mint, or do I need to list it differently? And they'll literally tell you if that indentation is wider, the circumference of it is bigger than X, then you can't list it as near mint. It's that detailed, guys. So that's probably the most important thing that I want everyone to listen to and hear in the first 5 minutes of the video is those resources are available to you and they can help both the seller and the buyer in any of these disputes or conversations that you have. The next thing I want to talk about is this idea of having a conditioning like kind of strategy with your business. Because depending on what kind of like approach you have to reselling cards, it's gonna like determine your approach to your conditioning. For example, if you buy and sell high-end collections, you're spending ten to $30,000 a month buying very large end single collections and you're selling those on TCGPlayer. That's amazing, by the way. If that's your approach, that's super cool. In those situations, you're probably hyper focused on securing the most high condition cards you can because you're buying from very serious collectors. And so the chances of you getting a lightly played, moderately played card in a collection is kind of lower unless you're dealing with more vintage stuff just because of how old it is. And so your kind of, strategy to conditioning is going to be to condition it at the time of purchase, right? Like you're going through those cards, making sure that you've comped them all correctly. And so when you're buying that lot of 50 to 100 cards, you've already done all the conditioning on the front ends and you're ready to list those things. So if there's the odd moderately played to heavy played card, you've already earmarked that, set it aside, and you're ready to list it separately. Whereas on the flip side of that is if you deal more in bulk, which is what I specialize in primarily, I also buy and sell collections, sealed product, all that, but primarily I still work with bulk. Bulk is a mixed bag, okay? Depending on the collector you're buying from and how they store and take care of their cards, if you're buying 10,000 cards from someone that's very meticulous and very thoughtful with their cards, then if you go through a stack of 25 to 50 cards and they're all near mint, you can feel very confident that the rest of the cards in that lot are going to be very similar condition. On the flip side of that is if you have someone that didn't take as good of care as their cards, you may notice that, the whole 10,000 card lot is more on the, lightly played, moderately played side of things. And what I want to tell you if you're a bulk buyer and seller is do a little bit of, when you go to make the purchase, right? You've already negotiated the price, you're going to pick up the cards. Pick up a couple stacks. Like if you're dealing with 10,000 cards, you can't sit there and look through all 10,000 in one setting, but you can pick up 20 to 30 cards, thumb through them, look at the fronts and the backs, and get a good general idea of the conditioning of the cards. First of all, this is super important because you can tell right away if the listing was accurate for bulk. You want to make sure that there's very minimal to no energy cards in the lot. You also want to make sure that trainer cards are present. No, this is kind of added bonus, okay? For anybody watching and interested in bulk, I'm kind of giving little nuggets away. We'll do more videos on that kind of stuff in the future on buying and selling lots. So don't be afraid to pick up 20, 40 cards like in different areas of the lot and just kind of look through them to get a general idea of what the conditioning is. The other thing is some buyers and sellers, when it comes to their strategy, whenever you're listing, thousands of cards, a lot of sellers may say it's not worth it to them to list anything at near mint because they dread the thought of someone disputing that with them. And so they list all their cards at lightly played, whether or not they're near mint or not. They do that as a way to cut down on back and forth with customers. And honestly, the price differential between near mint and light played in a lot of cases is going to be very minimal for lower end cards. So anything like from bulk to about $5 to $10, those discrepancies in terms of price are very low key. Whenever you get into more rare cards, SIRs for Pokemon, specific collectible cards in Magic, which there are not a ton of them, but when it gets to that level of card where someone's really hyper focused on that, it does matter, and there is a bigger price difference between light played and near mint. So just keep that in mind. For me personally, and my recommendation for you as a reseller, someone looking to get into it, is I think it's worth it to sell and condition your cards exactly how they are. Near mint all the way down to damaged, okay? I think it's worth it for you to get familiar with the resources I mentioned at the beginning of this video, for you to know exactly how TCGPlayer defines a near mint card, because it may surprise you. Literally in the near mint section of that article, they literally say that a near mint card can have moderate and very light types of edge wear. It can have very moderate to light type of like wear on the card, which may surprise you because in our minds, again, it's subjective. We think a near mint card should grade a 9 or a 10 at PSA. That's not the case. Remember, near mint cards can be a PSA 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Like these things, just because a card is off-centered on the front or the back doesn't mean that it's lightly played. That is still a near mint card. And for any buyers and sellers out there, like just know that like near mint, the best way I like to explain it is it's a pack fresh card. That's going to have some, at times whitening on the edges. It's going to have some edge wear here and there. We're not talking extensive. We're talking very minimal to light edge wear. You could even, I mentioned indentations on the card. There's like even like guidelines for like roller lines on the back, which can occasionally happen as well. And as long as those things are all within the guidelines, you can still list a card with like minor, kind of minor mistakes on it as near mint, and that's perfectly fine. Like that's totally acceptable. It's whenever you open a pack and like the last 4 cards are like dented or slightly bent, and that like unfortunately at no fault of your own, those cards were like literally packaged and damaged that way, and there's nothing you can do about it. But you can't list a card that has a bend in it as near mint. That's just not okay. And in fact, that probably wouldn't be considered light played either. And it's unfortunate that a bend is not like considered a misprint. It's more of just damage to the card, right? So hopefully if you open a pack, and all of us have where things have been damaged, hopefully you don't pull the chase card, right? That's always the goal. That's always the hope. But I hope this has been helpful so far. Just talking about like your approach to conditioning. You can list all your cards at light played if you want to avoid some of that conversation. But I really do think that there's a lot of value for you to learn and get familiarized with the resources and guidelines that TCGPlayer has, because they're super beneficial. The last thing I really want to talk about here is just some of the back and forth I've had, some personal stories from, as I said, getting close to 3,000 sales on TCGPlayer, which is absolutely phenomenal. So when it comes to disputes, a lot of times when someone reaches out to you and says, hey, this isn't the condition I had, there's a couple things that could have happened. Number one is you as the seller, you could have made a mistake. Whenever you were listing, a batch of 500 cards, you may have overlooked, some, more lightly played edge wear. You may have overlooked a larger grouping of print lines and roller lines on the back of the card or something like that. You may not have noticed a scratch in the hollow. Like all of these things are easily missable. So whenever you get that dreaded, hey, you have a message, a buyer has reached out to you, you get that dreaded email and you're like, oh no, what is it now? I would just encourage you to believe the best about the person reaching out. Not everyone has negative intentions. Not everyone's trying to pull one over on you and get a refund or get a card for free. Sometimes like when we're dealing with people that buy trading cards, like put yourself in the shoes of the buyer. And in fact, many of you, that's easy for you to do because you have your own collections. If someone purchased a card from you for their collection, like they want that to be at a certain quality and level. And you have to accept the fact that you're not infallible. Like you can make mistakes. I can make mistakes. We're all messed up, jacked up people, right? And that includes conditioning on cards. So one particular story I have is I sold a reverse hollow Scyther from 151. You may not realize this, but the reverse hollow Scyther is worth like a ridiculous amount of money. Like I think I sold it for $6, okay? That's crazy. That's like, mid-range IR territory at the time. The reasons for this is, number one, some of the reverse hollows in 151 are more desirable for collectors and people trying to fill binders. But number two, like if they're like more rare reverse hollows, but they're also playable, it also increases, exponentially the value that you can get from those cards. So just don't sleep on that, okay? So I sent out this card and I got a response once the card arrived to the buyer. And the buyer was like, hey, like there are print lines on the back of this card. It is not near mint and I need a refund. I need a partial refund. I just need the difference between a near mint and a light played card, which was like maybe $1. Like I sold this for $6. As I said, when cards get a little bit more expensive, that price range changes. And you know what I did? I didn't just immediately say, oh, I'm so sorry, let me issue a refund. No, I responded and said, hey, here's a link to the TCGPlayer article about print lines, and it says that a near mint card can have X amount of print lines on it. And then I asked them, do you believe that there are more print lines here than what is considered a near mint card? And they responded and say, yes, there is a collection of a lot of print lines all in one area of the back of the card. They explained it in detail. They also brought up they also read the guidelines and quoted a part of it and let me know that, hey, like this grouping of print lines constitutes that this card cannot be listed near mint. And from that point, whenever we had that exchange, it was very amicable. We were very friendly. Whenever the buyer let me know that, I was like, dang it, like I made a mistake. Like I didn't realize that there was a large grouping of print lines on the back when I was doing my quick conditioning check and listing these cards. So I issued the partial refund. I still maintained 100% feedback, positive feedback, and it was totally fine. Like that buyer had every right to reach out to me and have a conversation with me about the condition of their card. Now I want to talk about the first time I ever got a dispute for a condition of my card. This is one of the first times I ever felt like I was in jeopardy of getting a negative review on TCGPlayer. A person bought, I believe it was like an IR, I don't remember the card right now, but they bought basically an IR from me. And then when it arrived, they reached out and said, hey, this card is not near mint. It's off center on the front and it's got whitening on the edges. And so because I had read the articles that I shared with you earlier, I knew for a fact that the card I sent them was considered near mint. It was packed fresh, ready to go, but it wasn't a PSA 10. And so that was a harder conversation, especially for me. I think I just barely had like 100 to 200 orders at the time. I didn't have the order volume that I have now. I didn't have all the experience I had. And so having that hard conversation with that buyer was difficult. I had to, link the articles, quote the articles, and let them know like, hey, I feel very confident. And I take the conditioning of my cards very seriously. I look at every single card before I list it. I follow these guidelines. Here's a quote from the article that mentions what near mint really means. And I just mentioned, I said, hey, near mint is like a pack fresh card. It doesn't mean that card is gonna, grade at a PSA 10. But I know that I sent you a near mint card based off of these guidelines. And believe it or not, that buyer of that card was totally fine with that. Like they pushed back, they wanted a mint card. They wanted to buy a card that they could potentially grade and make money on. And just like a side note, guys, is if you're trying to be a reseller, you're trying to be a business, a lot of times buying on marketplaces like eBay and TCGPlayer are not always going to be the best options. Number one is you'll have more luck on eBay because there's actual pictures that you can monitor and condition for yourself. Look at the centering and everything. You can do that on eBay a lot easier, but on TCGPlayer, if you just buy a near mint listing without a photo, you have to assume that it's not going to be a PSA 10. Can you get lucky? Absolutely. There are definitely buyers out there that are not involved in grading that just list all their cards at the condition they are. And within their near mint cards, there's going to be some cards that could, grade a 10, but that's just the exception and not the rule, right? And then the last thing I want to mention here is for resellers. If you have a near mint card and it's closer to being a mint card, or if you have a very nice looking sealed promo card in the seal. Do I have one? I think I do. Just a second, y'all. If you have a sealed promo, let's look at this. The promo from Prismatic Evolutions, not a Pokemon Center one, that'd be sick. Look at this. This plastic, you see this plastic that's around it? That plastic demands that this card is worth more than just a regular raw copy. But on TCGPlayer, how would I let people know that I have a sealed copy? Well, you would post a listing with a photo. So if you have a very minty card that's very desirable, good for grading, and you want to maybe get a little premium on it, post it with a picture. If you have a sealed promo, like the emo EV I just showed you, I almost said emo, like the EV I just showed you, post it with a picture so people know. People that are looking for sealed promos, they're gonna see your listing. They're gonna look at the picture. People that are looking for a very minty SIR card, they're gonna see your listing. And if they have a better shot at a PSA 10 buying your listing for 5-10% above market and they think that it's worth that, they'll pay that. I have definitely, for my higher end cards, anything worth over $100, I typically always post with a photo now so that buyers can be fully aware of the card that they're receiving. I recently sold one of the red Victinis from White and Black. And that thing is a $400 card, y'all. I posted that with a photo, and my listing was not the lowest listing. I listed it right at and above market for where it was at the time, which I think was like $430. That thing sold. It's super amazing. Just don't discount what you can do with listings with photos. I sell bulk, so I do not add photos for all my listings. In fact, it's very rare for me to have a higher end card like that to where I'm going to do it. But anyways, I hope this video was helpful. I hope the first 5 minutes of this video added so much value to you that you considered leaving a like and a subscription. Guys, we are at 460 subs, man. That's crazy. We're so close. If you want to help just like a smaller creator get to 1,000 subs, consider liking and commenting. That would be plenty amazing. That's awesome. If you want to go the extra mile, send this video to a friend and ask them to support as well, especially if they're interested in selling cards and learning more about conditioning, because this whole topic is so interesting for me. I'm not sure if this video is going to be like the most popular video I have on my channel, but for the people that are going to find value in it, I think this one really, really is good. If you made it to the end of the video, put a rocket emoji down below, and I can't wait to see you guys for the next one. Peace.